You know who are the most miserable people in the world who don't enjoy life? Do you know who are the most miserable people in the world? It's so funny with all the people I've worked at in my life. The unhappiest people in the world are ambitious, lazy people.
Welcome to another Instagram Live with David Dang. And well, as I mentioned earlier, I have a special guest today, an entrepreneur, an author, and the creator of Valuetaintment on YouTube. And if you don't know who he is, he's released a new book a couple weeks ago called Your Next 5 Moves. Leave a comment below if you know who I'm talking about. It's Patrick Bet David. I'm still waiting for him to be live. Anyway, Patrick's amazing story starts with his family immigrating to America when he was 10 years old, and his parents fled Iran to America as refugees to escape the Iranian revolutions. And after high school, Patrick joined the US military. Later on, he started PHPAgency, and it's an insurance sales, marketing, and distribution company. Patrick became a millionaire before he turned 30, and then he created Valuetaintment to help shaping the next generations of leaders, teaching thought-provoking perspectives on entrepreneurship and disrupting the traditional approach to a career. And Valuetaintment is now considered one of the best YouTube channels for entrepreneurs all over the world. So be sure to stay until the end of this live stream to find out how successful entrepreneurs think and make decisions. So if you have questions for Patrick Bet David, make sure to leave them in the chat below. I make sure to ask those questions for you. I think Patrick is on.
We should be on now.
Hi, Patrick. Can you hear me now? Can you see me now?
I can hear you and I can see you, David. We have
perfect. Yes. Awesome.
But it's going.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for taking your time to be on this live stream with my audience, Patrick. Thank you so much.
Very good to be on with you. Very good to be on with you.
Yes. Let's see. I'm a big fan of you. I watch a lot of your content on YouTube and super excited to be on here today. And I got your new book. I almost finished it. I almost finished your new book, Your Next 5 Moves. I love it. So, well, to those of I know some of my audience, they don't know who you are yet. Can you talk a little bit about, like, what was your childhood like? I know you moved to US when you was 10 years old, and I don't think you spoke any English then. What was it like growing up as an immigrant in the US?
Sure. I was born and raised in Iran. I lived there 10 years. We escaped, went to Germany. I lived at a refugee camp for a couple of years, and I came to the States at 12 years old. And, you know, went to school. Right after school, I joined the Army at the 101st Airborne. I got out of the Army. Then I went and started working on Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. A day before 9/11, I got my Series 76631. I became a broker. And then went to Transamerica after that. And then I started my own company October of 2009 at 30 years old. And fast forward today, we went from 66 insurance agents to roughly 16,000 agents nationwide. We were selling 50 policies a month. We're now selling 11,000 policies a month. And at the same time, I started a YouTube channel called Valuetaintment that grew to 2.5 million subscribers.
Yes, I'm sure lots of my followers, they watch Valuetaintment and they're a big fan of your channel as well. And well, in one of your videos, you said that the #1 thing that you want your kids to learn is the ability to think and process issues. Why is that so important?
Because if you can learn how to process issues, you can pretty much, for the rest of your life, figure out your own way of reasoning for faith, for marriage, for why do I have kids, decision-making process with finances, investments, opportunities, bad decisions to make, the risk decisions to make, the risky decisions to make, being willing to take the risk. But once you have a certain process on how to make decisions, you have an edge on your peers, because a lot of times people make a lot of their decisions purely based on feeling. I feel good about this, I should do it. I don't feel good about this, I shouldn't do it. This is going to work out for me. This is not going to work out for me. Versus based on these set of criteria, my decision-making process is that I first do this, then I do this, then I do that. So that's why I think the #1 step, the most important skill set I would want to teach my kids is learning how to process issues.
Yeah. Okay. And I know you just released a new book on August 18 called Your Next Five Moves, and I got the audio book on Audible on the first day it was out. I'm almost been, yeah, the book is right there. Yeah. So can you tell my audience what the book is all about?
Yeah, so the reason why I wrote this book is because one day I woke up in the morning, and when I woke up, I had a text from my girlfriend that was telling me, I don't think this relationship's going to work out anymore, and we have to figure something out. And I had been with this girl for a while, and so 6 o'clock in the morning, first text that she wants to break up. Then I checked my messages. My mom left me a message talking about the fact that I'm no longer a good son because I'm not calling her back, and I haven't called her for a while. What happened back in the days when you used to want to spend more time with me? Then I got 2 emails. One email from my best client canceling, and another email from my best sales rep leaving me, all at the same time on the same day. And I'm in my bed asking myself, what the hell do I do next? And in that moment, I asked myself, I bet if there's 20 different people with the same exact challenge, they're going to probably make the moves different ways. So then I asked, do I call my mom first? Do I call my girl first? Do I go spend a day with her? Do I call the client? Do I call the agent that what do I do first? What are my first steps? And, do I make sure I save this relationship because she doesn't like how hard I work and she really doesn't like my dreams? She wants me to more be a 9-to-5 guy. What do I do in this situation? In that moment, I realized, the people that succeed, they make the best next 5 moves. You can have 20 different people and they'll make 20 different 5 moves. And it's knowing exactly in the right sequence of the right moves to make. Most people have the right ideas, meaning, for example, let me just simplify it for you. Say you want to go to New York. And the first thing you do is you already start looking at shows you're going to go see in New York, right? Okay, I'm in New York. On Friday night, I'm going to see these shows. On Saturday night, I'm going to go to this restaurant. You haven't even looked at flights yet. You haven't looked at availability yet. You haven't looked at hotels yet. You haven't looked at if other people are available yet. You haven't looked at any of those things. So what is the first thing you need to do? First thing, are you available in your calendar? Second thing, who do you want to go with you? Third thing, are they available? Fourth thing, are you guys going to fly together? Fifth, are you going to fly first class, private, or are you going to go, economy? Sixth, what hotel are you going to stay at? So the step-by-step process, most people, when they want to have their dreams become a reality, their sequencing is off. And I wrote this book to get the readers more clear on the right sequence of making the decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And who specifically need to read this book?
The book is tailored to either entrepreneurs, C-suite executive, or salespeople. It could be a lot of different people. The emails that I'm getting, I have emails from people who are CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. And I'm also getting emails from people around the world that are young entrepreneurs coming up, as well as small business owners and executives. So it could tailor to any of those folks, but it's got to be somebody that has aspirations of doing something in their lives. It's not made to motivate you. It's more made to have the motivated people read the book. So if you're looking for someone to motivate you, it wouldn't be the right book. You would need to be motivated to want to read this book.
Okay, so it's more like giving you the strategies, business strategy, and how to plan your next move as an entrepreneur or in life in general as well. Yeah, well, as I read through the book, in the first section of it, you talk about the importance of knowing yourself, because when you know what you want, it helps you plan for the next move. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, the basics of knowing yourself. Most people have no clue who they are. Most people are, especially in today's world with social media, most people want to be somebody else. Most people are mimicking somebody else. Even the way I speak, I get a lot of messages. People say, Pat, your style of speaking is like nobody else. Your English is not necessarily the best English in the world, but I connect with your style of speaking. Great. It's because the only way I know how to speak. It's my style. It's who I am. It's my personality. Then I have conversations. I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and I asked him a question. I said, so who do you want to be in your life? And he says, what do you mean? I said, do you want to be the overachiever? Do you want to be the achiever? Do you want to be the underachiever? What do you want to do in your life? And the guy said, look, Pat, honestly, if I make $80,000 a year in my life, I'm totally fine. I don't need to make a lot of money. I don't need to go chase and run a big company and do any of that stuff. I'm totally fine where I'm at. I said, great, more power to you. A lot of times people don't really know who they want to be and what kind of a life they want to live. Now, here's the challenge. You know who are the most miserable people in the world who don't enjoy life? Do you know who are the most miserable people in the world? It's so funny with all the people I've worked at in my life. The unhappiest people in the world are ambitious, lazy people. Let me say this one more time. Ambitious, lazy people. What does this mean? People who are very ambitious. They want to be a president one day. They want to be a millionaire one day. They want to build a big life. They're so competitive. They just hate to get out of bed. They just hate to do the work. They just like take long lunches. They want to come home early and watch TV. They don't want to work on the weekends. They want to take Friday afternoon off, but they're very ambitious, right? For me, I got to a point where I sat down and I said, Pat, who do you want to be? What kind of a life you want to live? Once I got clear with who I wanted to be and the kind of a life I wanted to live, I no longer could have people influence me based on the life that they're living. So give you a little bit more clear answer here so this makes sense to you. I'm dating my wife. My wife and I are at the phase where we're fighting. We're dating each other. And we don't know if this is going to go somewhere or not. And I'm telling her what kind of a life I want to live. And she is telling me who she wants to live, who she wants to be. And I said, it's a good idea we go see a marriage counselor before we get married and before I propose to you. She said, okay, let's do it. So we go to this marriage counselor. It's a recommendation from the church we were going to. We go to this marriage counselor and we start talking, and we start off with an open-ended question, just very simple. So what do you think is the key to success in a good marriage? His first line, my wife and I have been married for 25 years. My parents have been married for 45 years. And you know what's the one rule we all follow? What's that? Every night you should be home having dinner with your wife at 6 o'clock, and you shouldn't be anywhere else. I said, what do you do for a living? I'm a school teacher. What does your wife do for a living? She's a school teacher. What does your parents do for a living? They were school teachers. I said, what's my fee again? $200. I gave the guy $200. I walked out. I didn't spend time with them. Why? Because why would I take advice from somebody on marriage who works 9 to 5 or even worse, works 7 to 3, and I'm running businesses? We don't live the same life. So then I went and found counselors and therapists who ran businesses, who related to me, who could give the message to my wife and I on what life's really going to be looking like. Then we took that counsel. So the challenge is most people have no clue what they want. They follow a few people on Instagram and YouTube and Twitter and videos, and they say, oh my gosh, I'm this person this day. No, I want to be that person this day. No, I want to be that person this day. I think the way you got to do is consume everybody's content for maybe a year or two. After 2 years, only consume one person's content, because too many people's content could completely confuse you. See whose person's style matches yours more and stick to them.
Mm-hmm. That's a great advice. I totally agree with you. Everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants to be a millionaire, but nobody wants to put in the work. It's like everybody wants to have six-pack abs, but they don't want to go to the gym, right? So yeah, you give some good tips on how to find to figure out what you want. But I know a lot of the younger people, like myself, for example, like a lot of younger people, like they don't know what their passion is or what their purpose. Like how can do you have any advice for those who are lost so that they can find who they want to be?
Yeah. So, like I'll give you a few examples here to help you out. So for me, these are books that I've read. Okay, let me flip this so you can see this. So this bookshelf is Read. Okay, I had this bookshelf custom made. It's Read. I ended up reading somewhere between, 75 to 150 books every year over a span of 15 years. I kept reading, nonstop reading, right? And then I kept studying people who are performers, and I surrounded myself with people that are performers. You know who this guy is? That's Tom Brady. You know who this guy is? That's Tiger Woods. You know who that guy is? That's Michael Jordan. You know who this person is? This is President Bush, right? You're right here. President Bush, my wife and I, that's a letter from him. And then I went and studied people like Pat Riley. I went and studied all these top performers. I went and studied and got painting of people that I admired, right? I went and got people, and I looked at even stories like Batman. Look how real he looks, by the way. He's actually looking at you, right? I went and studied this guy, how he had a temper and he was upset, but when he's calm, he's a brilliant man, right? Look at this one here, how real this one looks. Look at this guy. Tell me this guy doesn't look real. Look at his eyes, right? That's the Joker, right? A little bit intimidating. Here's my point to you. I went and I surrounded myself around a lot of people, and I watched what they did. And I said, okay, let me see if I like this. When I worked at Bally's selling gym memberships, I'll never forget this. I was selling gym memberships at Bally's, and while I'm selling gym membership at Bally's, people would come in to buy membership, and rather than selling them a gym membership, I would interview them. And David, this is what the interview would sound like. I would say, hey, John, thank you for coming to Valley Total Fitness and Chat Sports. So tell me, what do you do yourself? He would say, I'm 21 years old at this time. I got out of the military. He would say, I'm in real estate. Oh, very cool. How long have you been in real estate? I've been doing it for 17 years. No way. Yeah, what do you like about it? You know, when the years are good, you can make a lot of money. Okay, what do you not like about it? When the years are bad, you can lose everything and you can have a divorce. How often are things bad? About 5 to 10 years. What do your schedules look like? You work on Saturdays and Sundays. Okay, cool. And then they would say, you know, if you want to be single and just be married to your career, being a real estate agent is very great. Great. So my brain is now taking notes on real estate agent. Next person would come in to buy a membership. So what do you do yourself? I'm a dentist. How long have you been a dentist? I've been a dentist for 13 years. What do you like about being a dentist? You know, I can make $167,000 all of your income and I change people's lives and they like it. What do you not like about it? Honestly, it's annoying. It's a headache. And nowadays, you know, I get sued once or twice a year. And every time I get sued, I have challenges and I got this and I got that. Okay, cool. That's good to know. So in my mind, I save it. So what do you do for a living? I'm an engineer. What did it take to be an engineer? I went to school for 4 years. Who do you work for? Raytheon. How long have you been at Raytheon? 12 years. What does a person at Raytheon make after 12 years? 120 a year. What do you like about it? It's decent income. What do you not like about it? The most I'll ever make after 30 years is $300,000. So I'm like, okay, 30 years later, $300,000. I don't know about that. I kept interviewing everybody. Eventually, I met a guy who owned a yacht company in Newport Beach, and his name was Robert. So one day, we're on the yacht, and we're going, and we're looking at these homes. I'm 21 years old, and I cornered him because nobody was talking to him, so I noticed he was by the shrimp cocktail area, and I went up to him. I said, Bob, I got a question for you. He says, what's that? I said, look, I really want to be able to figure out a way to get into an industry and do something that I can maximize myself. What do you recommend? He started explaining to me everything. He said, if you look at all the high rises in America, what logos do you see on the high rises in America in the top metropolitan cities? I said, I don't know. He says, you see financial institution logos. You see investment firms, banks, and insurance companies. I said, what's your point? He said, the richest people I know, they're in the financial industry. I said, okay, that's what I'm going to do. He says, look, if you watch TV, and if you watch baseball, basketball, what kind of companies advertise on those games? I said, I don't know. Tell me. He said, I said, Nike, McDonald's, I don't know, coffee, and, you know, some of the Coca-Cola. He says, yeah, exactly. He says, you know who buys Nike, McDonald's, and Coca-Cola? I said, who? He said, poor people. He said, people who watch basketball and baseball are poor. He said, when you watch golf and tennis, you know who the sponsors are? I said, who? He said, Ritz-Carlton, Rolex, banks, Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, Goldman Sachs, AIG, Nationwide. He says, you know why? I said, why? He says, because rich people understand how money works. Before it's too late, go learn how money works. I was 21, 22 years old, and I liked numbers a lot. I was always a numbers guy, and I love people. I actually genuinely love people. I'm so curious about people's stories and how they are. I said, I'm going to go into financial services. So I combined people and numbers, combined it together, went and worked at Morgan Stanley. From 2001 till today, I'm still in the same industry. So you got to kind of find a way. Mm-hmm. What are your strengths? Which industry will help you highlight it and put them together and go and test it out?
Okay. Yeah, that's really helpful. Okay. And well, entrepreneurship right now is on a pedestal. Like everybody, like all the younger people, if they want to make a lot of money, they all want to start business, want to be an entrepreneur. But in the book, your next 5 moves, you'll talk a little bit about intrapreneur and entrepreneur. Do you think should everybody be an entrepreneur? And if not, what are the options?
Yeah, this is my recommend. I recommend everybody try intrapreneur first before you become an entrepreneur. Everybody. Here's why. So what is an intrapreneur? What is an entrepreneur? There's a whole section in the book your next 5 moves. If you haven't bought it yet, by the way, there's Audible. You can buy this on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Audible, iTunes. You can buy it everywhere. But there's a part in the book where I talk about before you deciding to become an entrepreneur, consider being an intrapreneur. So why intrapreneur? Why intrapreneur? Here's why. So you start working at a company. Let's just say I have a real estate company. You start working for my real estate company. Say I'm 28 years old. I'm a hard worker. I'm making $1 million a year income. I'm well known. You're in Miami. You're in Chicago. You're in New York. You're in Oklahoma City. You're in Phoenix. And I'm the main guy in that city that people know. You start working for me. While you're working for me, my company's doing 10 million a year. After being with me for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, the company starts doing 50 million a year. And a big part of it is because of you. You ask me out to dinner. We go to dinner together. You say, Pat, I've been with you for 5 years. I'm loyal to you. I know this business. I've seen you negotiate. I've protected you. I got your back. You've changed my life. What do I need to do to own a piece of your company? Because I want to help this company go to $1 billion a year. And I say, you want equity in the company? I do. Wow. Okay. Why do you want equity? Because I want to build something that's mine as well. And I want to make this company partly mine. No problem. Either the guy's going to tell you what you need to do to get equity, or he's going to tell you no, or he's going to tell you he's thinking about it. If he says no, you know your options. Now consider being an entrepreneur. But if he says yes, and you get a piece of the equity and you ask what you need to do and he gives it to you, then you build the company up. Now you are an entrepreneur within a company, which is what we call intrapreneur. So what happens then? You know, the CMO of Snapchat is a friend of one of my friends, the old CMO of Snapchat. When Snapchat was purchased and it went public, he was never an entrepreneur, but he got a $40 million check. It's a nice $40 million check. You know, Steve Ballmer, who owns the Clippers, he never started a company prior to being a number 5 employee with Microsoft, but he became an employee. Gates gave him some equity. He ended up selling his equity. His shares right now total, he's worth $58 billion, $56 billion. He's an intrapreneur. He's not an entrepreneur. He's an intrapreneur. So when you go look at all these lists of people that did very, very well for themselves before becoming entrepreneurs, many times they didn't need to become entrepreneurs. If I were to tell you right now, you have an opportunity to work with Elon Musk at 35 years old. He's getting ready to start a company. Do you want to be an entrepreneur, compete against him? Or do you want to be an intrapreneur working with him and have some equity? You see how that works out? Sometimes you just have to go find the next Elon Musk of the modern times in the industry you're a part of, bring them so much value that they eventually have to give you equity.
Mm-hmm. I see. That's awesome. Okay, so if you were to go back in time, what advice would you give the 25 years old Patrick? And would you want the younger Patrick to avoid all the mistakes that you have made? Or would you let him make those same mistakes so that he can learn along the lessons along the way?
I think it's a mixture of both on what you're saying. It's a great question you're asking. By the way, I got 5 more minutes before I walk into my next meeting, so I just want to manage expectation. You know, one, you know, it's naive to say if I had the ability, I wouldn't give myself feedback to make the fewer mistakes that I would have made. For example, a relationship that I hung on to for longer, I probably would have let go sooner because I just knew it wasn't going anywhere. You know, I just was trying to force certain friendships and relationships to work out that they're just not going to work out. And you would have saved yourself more friendships, and you would have saved yourself a lot more time to be more focused on your dreams. And then on the other side, if I don't go through some of those setbacks, I'm probably not who I am today. And if I'm not who I am today, I wouldn't be in a position that I am today. So be a combination of both.
Okay, I love that advice. Okay, so yeah, I know you're tight on time. So if people who want to get the book, Your Next 5 Moves, the news book, where can they get it?
Oh, they can get Your Next 5 Moves right now on Amazon. It keeps selling out, but I think they got a new batch at Amazon. So if you go and try to order it right now, they should have it because the publishers send it out. We just got word 2 days ago from Wall Street Journal that's now, it is the number one bestseller on Wall Street Journal. It's a bestseller on USA Today, and it's now a bestseller on Toronto Star, which is international bestseller book. But they can buy it on Amazon, Audible, iTunes. Google. They can buy it all over the place. And very soon it'll be translated into Brazil, Mandarin, other places. But those things are taking time. But right now you can find it all over the place.
So if you have one quick piece of advice for an aspiring entrepreneur, besides reading your book, what would that last piece of advice be?
Get yourself ready, because once the doors open post-pandemic, I mean, I don't know if you guys just saw yesterday, in a couple hours, the founder of Zoom made $4.2 billion. Let me say this one more time. Yesterday, in just a couple hours, the founder of Zoom, his equity, his net worth went up $4.2 billion. That's a lot of money in a few hours. We are about to open the doors. Numbers came up yesterday from CDC that 94% of the death that we got from CDC were not tied to COVID. They were tied to other reasons why they died. And so these numbers have inflated and scared a lot of different people, which means very soon we're about to open up. When we do open up, oh my gosh, people have now learned how to work remotely. People have now learned how to sell through Zoom. And you go back to business as usual, you're about to see some rock stars being born in the next 6, 12, 24, 36 months that we've never seen before. And we're going to read about them in the next 12, 24, 36 months. So now it's all about looking at ways to improve different industries, how to deliver a product faster to the client, what things you can do to change a certain industry, disrupt it, what challenges certain industry are facing. I would have my head in so many books right now on how to disrupt industries, because it's going to happen so many times over the next 12, 24, 36 months.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Patrick. I know you're busy. Thank you. You guys, go get the book right now on Amazon, pretty much any bookstore. Your Next 5 Moves. Go read that book. I loved it. And yes, thank you so much for your time, Patrick. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.